coffee beans. Hello, welcome back to the CAIRNcast. We are in a crisper clarity, if that makes any sense today. A few more megapixels as our producer Jack is back in the house, back in the roastery, as it were. We're back here with some activity going on behind us, which, apparently it's a thing to do these days. You go more viral as you've got more than one movement on the screen.
Exactly. So for people
surfers in the back,
exactly younger than us, there's something going on in the background to keep you excited. It's pretty cool. It's also quite loud, but Jack has assured us that our voices will cut through.
And by assuring, he said, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So maybe you cannot hear us, but let's crack on. Today, what are we talking about?
So I think today we're going to talk, it feels very apt, we're in the roastery, and it feels the right time to just talk a bit more about coffee roasting, and more specifically about how cool it is to run a coffee roastery, and why we think it's the best job in the world. I'm just coining that. But talking a bit more about coffee roasting in general, and how we've, I suppose, tried to adapt and diversify to and try and make money along the way. So I don't know where we should kick off.
Well, so I think we've obviously talked quite a lot in previous podcasts about necessarily why you got in, I guess, to roasting. But I think probably let's just start off with summarizing that. Like, obviously you had two cafes, Frederick Street and Melville Place were set up. And then in 2018 time, you got a roaster. Obviously it started up north, then it came down here. Why did you start roasting your own coffee? What was the point behind that?
So the point behind it, I guess, was to feel more connected to what we were selling. It's your biggest cost of goods sold, I guess. You're selling a lot of this one product. So it kind of makes sense to want to have, I guess, an opportunity to have a bit more of a USP to add a bit more diversity for yourself against your competitors. We at that point had, we were the only ones selling Cairngorm coffee, which was, it was a nice, plus point, I guess, for coming to our cafe and enjoying our coffee. I remember quite early on someone saying it's extremely hard to make money as a roastery. And I was like, but we've got a cafe. We've got... And obviously at that point it was my dad's cafe, Relia Cafe up north, and our two shops. And we were the only customers of the cafe, as it were. And it was always the ambition and the goal to do wholesale, but we felt like we had enough and need to that point that we could get through, but justifying, I guess, having the roaster. Because obviously, as you'll see if you're watching this on YouTube, the roaster's it does as well now. We're still not touching the ceiling of its potential in terms of capacity in the roasting week. And so when we first got it, it was far bigger than we needed. And the businessman inside me would say, you shouldn't be necessarily buying for the roaster you want, but the roaster you need, I guess.
You need right now. So if you only need a 5 kilo one, only get a 5 kilo one at the start.
That seems to make sense.
Yeah.
But I guess we've always had quite strong ambitions, whether rightly or wrongly. And as we're discovering now, the larger your roaster, the less overheads you have. The time it takes to roast coffee can be between 8 and 15 plus minutes. And it's so it's pretty time consuming, and obviously time is money. You're paying staff to like hand on the background right now is smashing it on the tools. And I guess in hindsight, getting the 12 kilo roast that we have was a good thing.
And so, you get much, much bigger roasters. So, for example, you could get a 75 kilo roaster. But what we're trying to say there is that you still only need one person and one space. Like, this space could fit a 75 kilo roaster. So in that same 15-minute time frame, we'd be able to roast 75 kilos instead of 12 kilos. So you can see you get massive economies of scale, I guess, through that. But right now, we're pretty delighted, I guess, with the size. Our 12 kilo roaster is absolutely perfect for our needs right now.
Yes, because I think it gives us a bit of flexibility to be able to do small roasts for, single origin
100%.
filters. We were talking today, our blend that we sell, Guilty Pleasures, makes up a huge percentage of our coffee sold. So it's good for that, but also we want to sell like single origin coffees, and this will maybe give us a tangent into going on to do the things that you find fun in the business you run. But,
Yes.
Poet, I don't know, but yeah, I think being able to do the small single origin roasts was something that was good fun. It helped build brand, but you don't want to have to do 70 kilos of that, which is a whole sack.
Yeah.
And you're left with 65 kilos unsold. So
Yeah, which obviously you can see the sacks behind us as well. So obviously they vary in size, but
so this is the coffee we are drinking right now,
yeah,
which is Matambu Hill, which is our coffee of the month for March.
it's an absolute banger. Red coffee.
Real good. Really, really nice coffee. Really custardy. Really, definitely got the red fruit syrupy sweet kind of notes.
Yes. But so if you've got a really, really big roaster, one of those sacks would go in per roast, essentially, which is an enormous volume. Just out of interest for everyone, so we've got a 12 kilo Probat there. How much does that cost new?
I can't even remember.
Okay.
Like
Roughly.
5 figures.
Yeah.
And not 10 grand.
Yeah. 50 grand?
How much?
50?
No.
No, not as much
Much
as
as
that.
that.
Okay.
Somewhere in the middle, I think.
Okay, cool.
So because the plan was, my dad and I had a romantic idea of being able to split a roaster and then for our cafes. So
Yeah.
he would roast on himself for his shop, and I would roast it on myself. So we kind of split the cost. So I can't even remember what it was now, but it's not unsubstantial. It's
Yeah. So if you're wanting to set up a coffee roasting business, probably your biggest outlay initially is the actual roasting machine by an absolute.
wait until roasteries go bust, and then which they didn't before. It was hard to come across a good condition Proba. I feel
Yeah.
there was a pretty ripe market for people to want to buy them, and there weren't very many around. So we bought new. The issue at the moment we are in the glory years of specialty coffee. All of the technology is increasing an array of knots.
Yeah.
So now, like, I would foresee that electric coffee roasters are going to be the future, and that may become null and void in the next 10 years.
Which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like obviously, so our one right now is gas fired, but yeah, I can definitely see electric roasters taking over much, much more in the future. I guess part of this as well, we're saying, is so many people now roast their own coffee, especially in Edinburgh and Glasgow. Across Scotland, there's so many coffee roasters versus 10 years ago. And I think that's a reflection of probably the startup costs are not enormous, but also I think, like, the reason we're doing this podcast, it's quite good fun, as in what you are doing is receiving raw green beans and turning them into an own brand product, basically. And I think that was a huge part of the attraction for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I always refer to it as this kind of romantic process of, we source the coffee, not direct from farm, but not visiting the farms.
Yeah.
But from the point you cup the coffees from importers that you received,
Yeah.
and to bring it from that to receiving it from origin, roasting it, doing the marketing elements to bring it to life, and then being able to go into the cafe and drink that.
Yeah.
And I've had touching points all along the way. Obviously, I don't want to oversell our impact. Obviously, before it arrives in the UK, there is an enormous amount, and all of the work is done. We're doing a very small fraction of the work to kind of seal the deal at the end.
Yeah.
The process of receiving a green, making a brown, and seeing on a shelf is a really enjoyable process.
Yeah, massively.
I kind of would compare it to, and you might not like this, being vegan, but like going out and fishing for fish. If you then had a seafood restaurant, to then take that back, work with the chefs to prepare it, and then to sell it to customers, that kind of like full circle aspect. It's quite romantic, isn't it?
Are you saying you would one day maybe like to own a coffee farm? Is that where we're going with that? So it's literally right the way from
Yeah,
field to...
field to fork, car. Yeah.
I do think that is very, very cool. I think
There are people that are doing that. I think Tim Wendelboe, what he does, and Sasha Sestic and Ona Coffee in Australia, they have either shares or they're connected in some way or own farms.
I think
That's unbelievable.
that is cool. That has to be probably some sort of Cairngorm goal, is eventually to own your own coffee farm. But I think, like you're saying there, part of the joy you get, we obviously work a lot with Hannah and Kate and Matt to source coffee is really, really exciting, especially, we talk about our reds or different color profiles. That is a big part of the job, is actually going out there and finding those coffees. And I think as a coffee roaster, that is definitely one of the exciting parts of the job, isn't it? Getting
For sure.
new coffees on our desk. We get to cup them and you're like, oh, that's great. Which is exactly what happened with this one. Took us all by surprise.
Yeah.
And we absolutely loved it.
Do you know the thing which, because obviously in this podcast we're talking about how fun it can be to run a coffee roastery. I find I've been guilty in the past of letting my excitement boil over, and as an example, to release like 4 coffees all in 1 week or 1 day, instead of trying to be pragmatic and controlling myself and trying to think of it as a business. So I think that is something that, and there's no real issue with doing that, but I think it dilutes the excitement of being like, this is our coffee of the month and it absolutely slaps.
Yeah.
Let's focus on this for a minute, rather than being like, here's 4 incredible coffees. So I think that's an example of where your excitement can sometimes sway you from acting in a sensible fashion.
Well, also like the Grand Slam coffee is a good example of that as well. Like obviously that's something that was launched very much at a whim, but it's an incredible tasting coffee made up of probably 3 of our best coffees at the moment.
Yeah.
That's the kind of freedom you get though through obviously you sitting in the roastery. You're obviously very good at knocking up graphics and being able to make
Hashtag Fiverr. Could this be sponsored by Fiverr? That'd be quite
a Fiverr, yeah.
Fiverr.
But I think that's very, very cool. It allows you to think outside the box. And, we're talking a little bit probably more from a wholesale direction as well. But the online aspect for us as well is big. It's something that we really want to grow is our web sales essentially and subscriptions.
I think you've been quite good at grounding me a bit on that, because obviously, like, I guess it's hopefully comes from an entrepreneurial streak, but like I sometimes think, oh, we could build this into like being a part of the roastery could be a decent e-commerce business.
Yeah.
Because you look at the likes of like Coffee Hit or Brewed by Hand, these kind of real coffee accessories and goods businesses, but that is their focus. Like that's what they do, and it's quite hard to be everything. To be like, oh, coffee roastery, cafes.
Well, exactly. So how do you juggle that at the moment? And we do a lot of juggling, but there's 3 cafes to run in Edinburgh, a roastery, there's an online. There is quite a lot going on all the time, isn't there?
Well, even if you dedicate a day to each of those things, that's the week.
That's the week on, I know.
Which is mad.
Yeah. And that doesn't account for anything really going wrong at all, does it?
No, not at all. And like a lot of the moving parts of running a business and running a business as it scales, I guess, is people management. And that takes up a decent amount of the time, and I guess
for sure. I think we've probably slightly gone off on a tangent there, but from a roastery again point of view, how much do you think that adds to Cairngorm Coffee, the brand, versus just having cafes?
I think it adds a lot, like a huge amount, because I think having a tangible product makes you more of an expert in the field. Like, I think without the coffee roasting, we're a cafe, which is great. But I think quite quickly, I'm not saying it's through anything but the fact we started a roastery, people started to view us as like a credible source of, we knew what we were talking about. Yeah. And to be fair, we have learned an exponential amount about coffee through the roasting journey. So yeah, we're learning a lot of skills along the way. But I think it's added a huge amount. Like I think I've always been obsessed with tangible products. I think we've talked about it before, but that's why making t-shirts, making sweaters, making hats was a large part of it in advance of us doing coffee. And now getting the bags out on shelves was a real big milestone for us. One that has, I think, as well, just given us a lot of confidence to push on. And I think now when people come to the cafes, they do get a different experience.
Yeah.
Because they're buying into more than just a coffee. They're buying into, I guess, more of a community and a brand around that.
And I think that's something you're probably trying to build on a little bit more, I guess, through doing the coffee of the month. And different, I guess, like even the Grand Slam blend, we had the Summer Banger last year. That flexibility you have in the roastery of being able to come up with new blends or new products to a certain extent, then allows you to freshen up the cafes a little bit. Because if we speak about, obviously, Bonnie and Wild and the Melville Place shop, they both use Guilty Pleasures generally for the milk espresso. Well, if you go in there most days, you're getting Guilty Pleasures. But now we've kind of added in the options where you can get a single origin if you want in there as well.
Yeah.
You can try Summer Banger on, potentially it's on batch, but there's lots of optionality, I think.
Definitely. I think, to be fair, it's kind of something we've come back to post-COVID.
Yeah.
It was something we pushed pretty hard. Obviously, we only started doing a blend 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
If you scroll back in YouTube, you'll see us talking about it. It was a new thing for us, and it's been a very successful thing. Like any coffee roasters out there, it makes complete sense to do a blend.
Yeah.
Just do it well.
Yeah.
I think is the don't fall into the trap. So if you could use it to cover sins or anything.
Yeah.
But I think I think when we started, we were doing single origin exclusively before that.
Yeah.
And we would always try to have more than one. And we've spent, this isn't a podcast about COVID, but there was a long period throughout that where we did try and go back to basics and simplify. I did a post on Instagram last week about food and how we were just building back into that. We're still not back. Well, we're now, I would say, surpassing where we were, but it's taken a long time to get back to having food menus, to really focusing in on that one thing.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, we're basically shitting our bricks, so we weren't going to survive the next month.
But it's interesting to see, obviously, and this is another tangent, but it's only really the last couple of months that you see, especially in Melville Place and Frederick Street, where the seating is communal, where people are getting more comfortable sitting next to people again. They'll walk in and they're like, oh, the cafe's almost full, and they'll go and sit next to someone. Yeah. 6 months ago, people were just walking straight out again. So I do think, we are almost back to normal.
Yeah, well, that was genuinely one of the hardest things for me, and one of the reasons that I didn't want to, for the longest time, reopen Frederick Street was because it always thrived upon people sharing tables. Just to have one long table, and people would gravitate towards it. They wanted to sit, and it was high up so they could watch the baristas at work. It was a real vibe. It then inspired Melville. It was like, okay, everyone's gravitating to this one high table. That became the framework for all the tables in Melville. And it was a great thing. It was, a really nice thing to be a part of, just to be able to sit and watch people get to know each other. I'm not saying necessarily people became best mates around the table, but I don't know, there's a real community when you feel comfortable, at least.
So, yeah, for sure.
And then to go into Frederick Street post-COVID and have had to take out that table, which was quite a milestone, and put in 4 really spaced out tables, the whole DNA of the place is lost.
Yeah.
And so now, to go back in and feel the place buzzing with those shared tables, it's a real good thing. Again, massive tangent, but it's a real positive thing.
Massively. Well, let's, I guess, get back on track. I want to quickly, we've kind of talked about the benefit of having a roastery for our own brand and their own cafes. But I guess one of the most exciting bits about having the roastery is getting to work with wholesale customers.
Sure.
And we are very lucky to have some great wholesale customers. We're going to touch briefly on, the different services we do for them, because they're two completely different offerings. And again, it's like we're sitting here talking about running cafes, running a roastery, running a online shop as well.
Yep.
Even in the roastery, we then have lots of different product offerings for wholesale customers.
Yep.
And there's lots of complexity around all that stuff all the time. So, for example, let's start talking about white label. So, explain, what is white label?
Well, so I was chatting to my dad about white label, and he thinks it's private label. We've had some kind of chats in-house about that, whether the term is white label or private label. Whatever it is, the concept is that you are roasting coffee for a client and their name is going on it. So you're essentially manufacturing the product, getting no benefit from it in a visual sense, apart from a financial transaction. It obviously has a massive benefit for a business like ourselves to be a part of that kind of thing. And it's something that probably we don't really do a huge amount of, but we're pretty open to exploring further. I think, again, that's just a kind of a learning almost from COVID has been, don't kind of shut yourself away from any opportunities. It's like, you need to be, leave your ego at the door to a certain extent, because I guess that's the only downside, is it's not an opportunity to further your brand.
No.
But it could open large opportunities for making use of the staff that are here, the roaster and all that kind of
100%. And I think that's part of the thing with all that is you like to have own brand as well. But basically doing white label or private label is kind of giving that customer their own brand as well. It looks like an own brand product. It is an own brand product. And I think that's very, very attractive. Same way it's attractive for us. It's very attractive for, obviously, the companies that we work with to do white label. And like you said, so the benefit from our point of view is that it gets volume through our roaster, which otherwise wouldn't be doing any work. If it adds in work for the roaster and kind of lowers your cost per kilo production cost.
I always find it interesting to hear other roasteries talk about how much they roast. So I don't know if we try and be quite transparent on the podcast. Like we're probably saying about half the week used at the moment. The working week. So we're doing kind of 2.5 days. Some maybe on a busy week 3. Which gives us 2 days when that roaster could be on and it's not. You'll probably say we should have waited for one of those days to record the podcast. But
that's a good point.
But hey,
we've got lots of
you got to strike while the iron's hot. And when you got some great ideas about a podcast, you got to crack on.
But it's a valid point. So instead of running the roaster for 2.5 days, we could be running it for 5 days a week.
Yes.
But right now we're doing roughly 1,200 kilos a month green, which equates to whatever, 900 to 1,000 kilos once you lose the moisture. So obviously, if we double that, we'll be doing 2,000 kilos a month, basically.
Then we might make some money.
And that's how you make money as a coffee roaster.
But, whether that is through white label or not doesn't really make a difference.
No, exactly. So, that's exactly the point we're trying to make there, is that white label, the more of that you do, helps you get up to your 5 days a week full-time roasting. And so we're talking about 2,000 kilos a month probably on our 12-kilo roaster. Could probably do up to 2,500, 3,000 if it was running absolutely flat out every day. But if you change that to a 75-kilo roaster, you're then talking about...
I'll have 4.5 days to kick around.
You're talking 5 times that volume. So, if you've got a 75-kilo roaster, you're talking about doing
75 is massive. So that's
10,000 kilos a month of
for those specialty coffee fans out there. That's that's the kind of volume that a square mile will be looking at. Which is huge. I think it's huge. I don't know the intricacies of it, but if you look at that roastery tour on YouTube, he's putting a whole sack of coffee into his Probat. I think it's Probat. So Yeah, it's quite mind-boggling. There's like maybe just about one coffee or two coffees a week we could get away with doing that for.
Yeah. But that'd be one roast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be a complete
Instead of
pointless.
5 roasts, it'd be one roast.
Yeah.
But so that, just to put that into context again, some of these big roasters will be doing 10,000 plus kilos a month, which is 10 tons. So over the course of a year, are doing 120 tons of coffee, which is just an enormous volume, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the level when you're getting containers. You're literally contracting whole shipping containers, and which obviously I don't think we've made any. Like we've been quite open with the fact, like, we want to be a big business. Like, like it's not. Whilst we talk about the romantic concepts and all these kind of things, obviously, to get to the point where you can, have more impact on a farm, on your own farm, like, you need to be doing pretty well. In my opinion, you have to be doing some serious volume.
I'm going to chuck you under the bus here, maybe with a question that you won't know the answer to. But small lot farm, how many tons or kilos would a small lot farm be producing in a year?
What I'm annoyed about right now is I had a phone call with Matt Randall at Langdon. He's one of our importer partners. And I was waiting until he finished talking to ask him that question on some Honduran farms we're going to work with this year.
Yeah.
And I forgot to ask the question, so I could have had a perfect answer. So I don't really know. But what I was saying to him was, if we were looking at, buying like 3 pallets, would be saying like 1,500
kilos.
No, more.
Yeah.
It'd be like under 2,000 kilos of coffee. Is that what we need to do to be able to work with these farmers like much closer?
Yeah.
And he was kind of saying, well, actually, like, a lot of these guys are smallholder farmers.
Yeah.
So that, they might not even have that much coffee.
So they might have less than 2,000 kilos.
On like of a particular lot of
I get it.
So
but that's interesting as well, because we did that last year with the C-Tech coffee, which many of you may remember as it was kind of our funky coffee for a while, which with that, again, benefit of being a roaster, you were able, and Fortitude, I think, did the same with the same producer as well.
Yeah.
You were able to go to that producer and say, I want to try and do this, which was add apples during the processing, a carbonic maceration process plus apples to give what was our C-Tech coffee.
Yeah.
And I think we got like 600 kilos of it.
Yeah, 600 kilos.
We had a lot.
Quite a long time. But yeah, we did.
I don't know if we still got any left. We did sell out. So one, we did.
We didn't throw it. No. But I mean, that's going back to having fun with the coffee roastery. That's the kind of stuff that you do need to sprinkle some of that in amongst, like the white label stuff to get job satisfaction, don't you?
When Robbie, when he obviously got me involved, he was like, we'll do origin trips like 4 times a year. So I was like, we'll be going to Rwanda.
We still can. We could do that tomorrow, but I've had a kid. It's got 2 kids. No,
well, I can go. I'll do it.
You could do. Yeah.
And anyone else, if they want to come with as well, we'll do origin trips.
We're going to pick one subscriber this week.
Who can pay for their own flights and hotels.
But, those options are on the table. We've talked quite openly about it. It's like, when the time is right, that is something we will do.
Oh, I'd love
we
to
want to do it when, like, it will have the biggest impact for the business. It's like a business decision. Like, if we spend that money, at what point, like, how much coffee do we have to make that really pay for itself?
But like you say as well, so at the moment, probably 60 to 70% of the coffee we roast a month is our blend, the Guilty Pleasures blend. Yeah. So I'm like, that leaves 30 to 40% of the single origin stuff that we're doing. And then that's split maybe between 7 or 8 single origins at any given time. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of origins, isn't there? It's not like you can be going to all the origins every year.
And I guess with the Guilty Pleasure, like, those are probably the kind of ones that you want to be getting the most value out of those trips.
Yeah.
There's no point in going to Ethiopia to buy 3 sacks of coffee.
Yeah, like your importer's going to do that for you, basically. Yeah.
But, like, if you're wanting to create direct relationships where it's like, that will be that will be 50% of our blend for 50% of the year.
Yeah.
And we'll buy that every year.
Yeah.
Harvest. That makes a lot of sense because, you know, you are really then getting a closer relationship, and I'm trying to understand the needs of the producers. And if you then find someone that you can work with for the next 10 years,
Yeah.
then it has been worthwhile.
It's funny though, because like obviously the most exciting trips would be to go see a small holder in like some random part of Nicaragua, like tiny wee farm. But yeah, you're right.
I just think about it from like a Tring perspective or a Cairngorm roastery perspective.
Yeah.
If someone's like, "Hi, I've traveled over from New York to come and visit. Will you give up your day for me to come in?"
Oh yeah.
It's like this guy's trying to freaking dig up some varietals and replant some coffee.
Yes.
It might feel to me a bit like I don't even.
That was real great little man
to
from
go in and be like, "Oh, come! I'm visiting your farm.
Yeah.
I'm paying money to be here. So, can you give up your time?"
Robbie's basically passive aggressively saying that he doesn't like getting interrupted during the work day.
Mainly, it was back in the day when I was roasting at home, and my mum would come over with like a sandwich for lunch. I'd be like, "Thank you so much, but I literally can't take my eyes off this roast." Because at that point, and this might be interesting for some people, we didn't have Cropster, which you might be able to see in the background on that screen. I used to turn the page in my notebook, write 0000000030, F15 0030 0045 0100, and then I would take the temperature every 15 seconds that it said, and then I would try and predict before I did it where I would want it to be at each point, and then see if I was hitting that. So
That's mind-blowing.
I've never seen a curve before. I had to just make plot a curve on like Excel after the fact. I was literally doing it all. So when it got to looking at percentages of post-crack development, say we were aiming for 20%, I would have to be like, right, I've hit first crack at say 10 minutes 45. What is like another 20% on top of that, so that I know how long to keep the roast running for. So I was like doing mad calculations on my phone whilst it was completely.
So if anyone finds that interesting, I think we should do a video. I think it's be quite a good video, like right in front of the roaster, probably with you and Hannah, just talk through a roast, like literally film that and show everyone what you're talking about there. Because if you are interested in the overall process of roasting, it is quite interesting. But what you've described there, it's quite hard to visualize, I'd say. So I think you should do a video on that.
But I think like anyone who is starting to roast, they'll probably understand what I mean by all of that. And I think, I guess it's like everything, like we're talking about having a 75 kilo roaster, having that at scale makes a lot of sense. But we're paying like £120 a month for Cropster. Yeah. Having that when we didn't have any wholesale customers didn't really make sense. I guess it's okay to go back to basics, isn't it? And I think actually doing stuff like that makes you understand the process better. Like if you rely on data from day one,
I completely agree with that. I think it's probably one of your egg your own skill set on that. Like you're very good at roasting, and I think a lot of that is probably built up from, you have been doing it for 5 years now. And from the sounds of it, you were doing it very manually at the start. So there has been some pros.
Can I do another quick story for people who might be interested?
Yeah.
When I didn't really understand what I was doing, like my first sack of coffee, I would weigh out 10 kilos, and then I put it into a big Tupperware, so it was like a big plastic container, so it was relatively spread out. And then I combed through the green coffee looking for defects. So any cracked beans, any like beans that didn't look right the color.
Yeah.
Which nobody does. As far as I'm aware, nobody does that. But I thought
you're actually making every bean.
It's so time consuming. It's like taking me an hour to comb through this before I do one roast. So obviously now you just wait till it comes out in the drying tray, and then you spend while it's drying, pull out the quick.
Yeah, you pull out the bottom. Excuse my language here, but what happens if you fucked that roast as well? You've spent an hour doing it, and then all of a sudden you're like,
double fuck up.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So that's quite funny.
That is quite
I
funny.
got lots of those stories of like, and the biggest thing is don't be afraid to learn.
Yeah.
We always try and encourage staff to be like, make mistakes.
Loves learning.
Yeah. Never think you know what you're doing.
Well,
Probably don't.
it's a really good segue into we're going to learn about some crisps again.
Are they corn or are they maize?
What are they? Are they potato?
Are they corn or are they maize? So obviously,
Well, you obviously get corn and maize.
flavored potato snacks.
Yeah. Which is basically potato mush turned into a shape.
All the
Are they vegan? Can you just confirm that?
Do you want me to tell you if they're...
Well, let's crack them open. Squares. I think we all know everyone's going to love squares.
Can I just ask you a question about how you look at stuff for vegan?
Yeah.
Should it, now in the day and age we're in, be highlighted as an allergy? Almost, you know? Like,
So
should it be in bold? If
it will say, this will probably say vegetarian, and then it won't be able to say vegan because it'll be like,
not milk powder or something.
it was made in a factory that may contain milk.
Because I can't see anything on that says, that looks...
So because it's made in a factory that handles milk,
Correct.
they don't want to say it's vegan.
But I think it's probably...
It's fine. It's safe. Right. Get them open. I'm like,
yeah, welcome to this week's Crisp Break brought to you by Squares.
yeah.
We've actually got Gary Lineker coming on after the break to join us to give us his rundown on the crisps.
I got a big handful there. I love squares.
Aaron loves them as well. Oh, they're so salt vinegar, to be honest. I love that.
They're good. Probably 1% potato, but
Oh, good.
really good.
And they're really healthy for you because they're so thin.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. The bag's 99% hair.
If you compressed all the crisps together and saw how big the ball of shit that you're eating is,
Yeah, wouldn't be a lot.
pretty. I was going to say it'd be quite shocking. But more of the most battery acid salt vinegar crisps I can find in Edinburgh. Before I even look at them, I know the answer. Has to be Co-op. Sea salt and Chardonnay wine vinegar crisps. Surely everyone says that.
We had those. Those are the ones we had in the first episode, are they not?
So let's bring this back to coffee because 2 weeks ago I had in a day, I think, or no, 2 days, 2 of the big bags of that. And it really, really did.
You on a diet?
Really did mess up my tongue.
Oh, did
Like, genuinely, cupping coffee like the next day was basically pointless.
They are.
Sore. Like, genuinely cuts on the back of my tongue.
Yeah. Those crisps are fantastic. Really, really, really good.
They're like a 10 out of 10. I would say these,
Yeah, what are we giving?
they're not as good as Disco's.
I think these are high. They score high.
I got time for me. We need to find some crisps we don't like. Salt and shake post-swimming crisps for me. You ever have that? I don't think they do them anymore. Salt and shake.
I'm going to give them a 7. I know the ones you mean. Do you know which ones we should try? I don't know if you'll like them. It's like the lentil ones.
Well, what lentil waves?
Nah, they're like... I'll bring them in. We'll have them next. I just need to find one.
That's a long segment talking about crisps.
I know. I need to find one that we're like, that was rank. Prawn cocktail. I never really liked.
I absolutely love prawn cocktail. Anything synthetic fishiness, I'm all for that. Scampi and lemon. Skips.
I don't mind it. I used to love skips. Quavers. Love quavers.
Prawn cocktail flavoured Watsits.
Oh, Watsits. I love Watsits. Those used to be my favorite.
They're very like,
But no vegan. Anyway, so I'm going to drag you back into, we've talked a little bit about white label, how it's great. It gets us a chance to work with, usually as well, quite cool coffee names as well.
Yep.
But now let's talk a little bit about, I guess, some of the single origin we do for wholesale customers too. And
like a collaborative?
like collaborative sort of stuff. And I wonder if we can segue that into
Talking about a new product.
as in wanting to do more single origin collabs, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Also, I think So something I was thinking about before is we are, and we have to be very open to like just trying lots of different stuff.
Yeah.
We don't know what the right thing to do as a coffee roaster is, because I've never run a coffee roastery before. So kind of just trying things,
Yeah.
trialing and seeing if it's more effort than it's worth, or if the mud sticks. And it's so some of these things are doing one-off funny name single origin drops, but one of the more recent ones, which has been very successful, and in terms of cementing a relationship with an absolutely slapping cafe, is the H9 one.
Yeah.
And I know Lewis especially will be excited because Fraser was saying they loved the shout out the last time on the pod. But we did a project with EH9, which we're currently still doing, and we want to do forever, FY, which is to source a coffee for their cafe.
Yeah.
And to keep it branded as Cairngorm coffee, but as an EH9 exclusive collaboration. So I don't know if you want me to see it, but we've got like got one of their coffee bags over here, one over here. The kind of idea is, buying a couple, 3 or 4 sacks of something to then roast exclusively for them. And that's been a really interesting experience in terms of, you were talking before about like roasting our own coffee. How did that then change the experience in the cafe? I think for them, hopefully, it has enhanced their cafe experience, because what you'll see is a no-brainer is that people want to buy your retail coffee if it's got your name on it, if they've had a good experience in your cafe. And I think this kind of offers a bit of an olive branch where EH9 can work with us. I was trying to word this in a way that doesn't look like we're tooting our own horn. But, we've built up a bit of a brand credibility for roasting coffee. Yeah. So they get that. It makes it obvious that the coffee they're selling isn't just, they're putting their name on it to cover the fact is roasted by Lavazza or something.
Yeah.
So it has some credibility, but has their name on it, and people instantly want to buy it if it has the cafe's name on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Is what we're seeing, I think.
So for us, I think you're saying it's a massive win-win, slightly different from white label, where it's like, that's a win-win also because it's getting volumes up, like we said, through the roaster. Yeah. But this is a win. We get to benefit from, the success of the H9 brand in Dundee and just generally their wider brand. And they also get to benefit from the same thing. And I think for us, we love doing that as well. We love collabing with like-minded brands, for sure.
Yeah. So it's not something that you would necessarily, I'm thinking, as advice for coffee roasters, which we would give ourselves. It's like, you don't want to do it with every single person, because you don't want to dilute like what it is you're trying to do, which is source your own great coffees with your brand on it. Yeah. But for the odds, I guess for the kind of client where you've already got a great relationship, and you want to try and progress that and be more a part of what they're doing, instead of making them sign a contract and giving them a free machine. There are other ways around it, I guess, like adding value to their business in a different way. And that added value in this instance is, I guess, our understanding of sourcing green coffee and getting the best possible coffee for them. And the reason we want to do that with everyone is because, there is a consideration that we're passing up great loss for ourselves that our shops will never benefit from. But, for the old person who has a good volume, a good brand, you like his people, you want to do stuff with, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I think you touched on quite an interesting point there around equipment as well. And that I think a big part of our wholesale philosophy is that we have equipment. We are resellers for VA. But for us, it's not really a massive part, and we never really want it to be a massive part of our business. I think we always want to work with businesses to get them the best coffee they possibly can. And sometimes that's to do with equipment, because the equipment helps, improve the overall quality in a cafe. But I think that's a big part of our ethos and a big part of the enjoyment. It's not that enjoyable selling equipment, is it?
man, or unless it's the core. Again, going back to the, if it's the core of your business, and you do it well. I think the headache for us is
it's not core. Yeah, I agree.
The core of our business.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing a lot of stuff. It's a part of it, and I think it's a part that we can do well. But it's like it's not necessarily what gets us up in the morning.
Yeah, I think it's cool because I guess it's almost more of a sales pitch from our point of view as well in the pod, is that we're so keen just to work with cafes that are relatively like-minded in that sort of way. Like, it's enjoyable, and especially the process with EH9 has been pretty collaborative. As in, Fraser's been down here whilst you've been roasting the coffee. You've cupped the coffee. They've been heavily involved in the finding of that coffee to a certain extent. And that's good fun at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, a sprinkling of enjoyment and otherwise tough.
But you say that as well, because we've got lots of other wholesale customers who probably smaller volume than the likes of a EH9 or some of the other bigger cafes we do, but are also very enjoyable to work with. Because I think from your point of view, they could be getting coffee from probably a cheaper roaster than us. But I guess they're choosing to go with us because the quality, hopefully, especially from the blend point of view, I think we pride ourselves on Guilty Pleasures. The quality of that as a blend is very, very high. And it's not that cheap, I guess, versus other blends that you could get from Billy or Matthew Alger.
That's always going to be the hardest thing in working in specialty, an industry where you're putting a higher price tag on something which is readily available at a cheaper price. And I think, trying to think of other industries that are like that, but I guess, how do you convince someone that a Rolex is so much better than a Casio? It's like, it's like, takes a lot of marketing and a lot of time to build that heritage brand. And it's, can we last long enough to make this a heritage brand? Hopefully. As you're thinking that, another cafe to shout out is obviously we do Plant Bay, for example, stocks, the Guilty Pleasures blend. He sells it as retail, and he also, has it on his flat whites in store. And I think that's a relationship that's worked really, really well for both of us. And I think credit to him, the quality of his brand and the quality of the coffee he serves in the shops is very, very high too. Another one coming on a rampage here. Root Down in Portobello, who are actually one of our oldest wholesale clients.
Oh, geez.
They have now started buying from us in reusable tubs, which we send down by Far Out on a bike delivery system. And then they put it into their own tins and they'll sell it as Root Down's coffee. And I'm like, that is class.
Yeah, that is cool.
It's really low fuss for us. It means their customers are getting, hopefully, great coffee. And it's a real win-win for him because people want to buy it because it's got his name on it if they're, fans of his business.
Yeah, I completely agree. Another wee plug then for that is obviously if you're in Edinburgh, we do now, if you're a wholesale customer, we'll try and ship you your coffee. You can order it in either a 7 kilo or a 4 kilo tub and then multiples of those. And I think from our point of view, it then goes with Far Out bike delivery. So we're pretty happy with, I guess, a reduction in packaging and also the reduction from a delivery, CO2 point of view. That what we can do now in Edinburgh is pretty cool, I think, along those lines. Like all our cafes, their coffee is delivered in tubs. And now the majority of our Edinburgh-based wholesale customers are in tubs as well, which is pretty cool.
There's another topic in a future episode about how to combat what we were talking about, like the perceived cost of specialty coffee being quite high. Thinking outside the box. So, doing it in reusable tubs has allowed us to bring the per kilo price down slightly because there's less packaging we need to pay for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a complete win for everyone involved.
For sure.
The customer wants to pay less. We don't necessarily want to pay for single-use packaging, even if it is created in a carbon neutral setting and technically recyclable somewhere. it makes complete sense to be doing that. And if it means we can make it more viable for other people to use our coffee, it's a big win.
Yeah, massive.
We probably need to start winding up. I think one thing we haven't talked about, which is just the really, like, in terms of having fun in a roastery setting, are the more light-hearted coffee launches, releases.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the Grand Slam being the most obvious. But during COVID, we did the Escape coffee, which is when lockdown was lifted. We had the Cabin Fever coffee when lockdown was going on. We've had the Summer Banger, and we want to do more stuff like that.
The lump of coal.
Look out for this. I don't even say it. But the lump of coal, which was obviously a massive hit. The Grand Slam coffee, which some people will probably think like, oh, what absolute idiots. So we're frank on this. We did not think Scotland would be in
with a shirt
or with one lost.
Yeah, we did not.
But, we thought, I mean, that's maybe coming across far too negative, and this isn't the rugby pod, but we had a plan, which was to discount the coffee when we had our first loss, which we have now done. So you can go on there and get it cheaper. So we're not so blindly optimistic that we thought we were going to be able to get through all of the Grand Slam.
It's still a Grand Slam coffee, but maybe just for Irish people now. Probably.
We just pretend we didn't know what Grand Slam meant.
Yeah.
It's the Grand Slam.
Grand Slam. Yeah, for American. And we also, the red boxes is another thing. That was a very flexible kind of, kind of thing that you can do. Working with our box printer, Windmill, who are based up in Aberdeenshire. I think that shows, again, clearly the flexibility you can have sometimes to try and pump stuff out. We sold all of our red boxes. Robbie got his order quantities correct for the first time ever.
Might have a few Grand Slam sleeves kicking about. I don't want some.
So does anyone want Grand Slam? How many? Or do you think you're going to be left over?
100.
So if anyone wants to wallpaper their flat with a Grand Slam...
I'll ship them all to Finn Russell.
That's a good idea.
But I guess, look, we talk about this, and we have a content spreadsheet in-house, and we added recently a column to that to try and track, like, what parts of our content, podcast or Instagram or TikTok are impacting sales. And one thing we added the last few weeks was product launch. To put a note when we launch a product. And I think that is the one inescapable thing which has the biggest impact on sales, is launching a new coffee, or, launching something which is impulsive to something which has happened, like the Six Nations ongoing, or the season's changing, doing something, it makes complete sense.
Unfortunately, we're not Boohoo, so we can't launch a new product every day.
Yeah, is that what they do?
What?
Is that what they do?
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, not great. But that's to do with the seasonality of coffee.
Yeah.
We will be launching probably, I guess, 10 products a quarter, I assume.
Yeah.
But we're quite happy with that. And I think it's quite it's a lot of work to do that. Just with your roastery hat on.
Yeah. Comment in the the comments. What do people say? Comment in the comments. Comment down below, if you're on YouTube, what you want Jack to embroider on a sweater for our next lunch.
Yeah.
And if you want it to be fully washed, let me know. No matter what is written there will be at least one sold. I guess they're not promising they'll buy it, but...
No.
We probably should wrap up.
Yeah.
We're getting dangerously close to that 1 hour mark.
I think that's been interesting.
What time's your meeting?
Pod. I've got big meetings, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. You've still got time to get there.
Oh, God, just. I think that's good. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for viewing. And sorry we missed last week. We didn't address this, but I was on holiday. So we weren't organised enough.
Jack's also on holiday.
Jack is also on holiday.
I was in Australia.
But a lot of holidays. It's that time of the year. Trying to get them all out of the way before Edinburgh becomes a zoo again with the Fringe. So
yes.
Which we are in big supporters of.
We love the Fringe.
It makes it a bit nice and busy.
Yeah. But have a lovely week, everyone.
Have a lovely week. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Happy Wednesday.